Welcome everybody. Today's platform team review, and we're ready to share some feedback. And the first item is that we have successfully released PMM. Yeah? Somebody wanted to say something? No? It was just some noise. So we have successfully released PMM 224 last Thursday, so 18th of November, and our future plans is having PMM 225 available for the preview release on the 13th of November, and the public release would happen on 7th of December. This is our plan. And as usual, we have the links here to our done items and to our plans roadmaps. You can see it wherever you want. And we can start. Let's review what was done during last 2 weeks. And let's start with the important bug fixes. So as I see show binary logs, it was done by whom? It was Iwo Panowicz patch, created a patch. Okay, Dennis, do we have somebody to show this?
I mean, there is nothing to show. There was a MySQL8 exporter patch for support of 8.0 version. It was upstream, and Iwo just ported it to our MySQL8 exporter, and that's all. There is not really much to show. You can open the ticket.
And it was also included in 224 release, so it's also
that was like
the
last week before release we included it, just because it was critical.
Okay. So the next item, MongoDB ReplSet Summary dashboard, incorrect start update. I assume it was Carlos. Yeah? And do we have Carlos? Yes. Carlos, we have you. Can you tell us or show us what's done here? MongoDB ReplSet Summary dashboards, incorrect start update.
I don't have anything to show, but the fix was that previously in the previous version, when we were not able to get the replica set summary, we were returning a nil, but that nil value was not being correctly parsed by Grafana, so we added a new color and the new status in Grafana. So when it is correct, because the error is correct, we cannot show a status, real status, because we are not connected to a Mongo instance. But instead of showing a nil, what we are doing now is showing a message, a readable message. We cannot connect to the database, and in a different color in Grafana.
Okay. Does anybody have a question related to this item about the states? No? Then we have some issues for Max to show us. Max, we're having 2 items from this one, yeah? And one item here for integrated alerting. Can you tell us what was done?
Yes, so regarding the managed crashes, I have no anything that I can show, because, well, it's just a crash. But the problem was with the case when the pmm-managed and pmm-agent have very different versions, and the client used it like agent version like a 2.8 or something like that, so very, very old. And in some cases, the server cannot handle the nil result, and panic happened. So this is a crash, and yeah, we fixed that problem. We accepting this nil response and no longer crash. So, and the next one is regarding Gmail, and I have a few screenshots to show. So this is not actually a bug, but like a feature, because some SMTP servers requires TLS to be enabled. So we added this required TLS flag. And if you add a Gmail, for example, SMTP server configuration, when configuring the alerts, you should specify, you should enable this option, and the alerts will work as usual. And yeah, you will receive this nice alert. That's it.
Okay.
Got in the box. Yeah.
Does anybody has a questions related to these items?
One question about the TLS. How are we expecting people to know whether TLS is required? Do we display log server errors or something that shows them that their mail server is asking for it?
Yeah, this is another story, because in the list that I wanted to show today, there is one more ticket regarding the testing the SMTP configuration. So, well, to know if the configuration works, users should just click a button like test this configuration, and if everything is okay, user will receive a proper email. If not, probably it will receive the error, but we cannot guarantee, because there are a lot of servers, and they can differ each from another, each like.
Hi guys, I have a question about this. I don't know if this has been addressed or known as, I don't know if you'd call it a bug, but if you set this up and you put in your password, you come in after and you want to edit something like gmail.com or whatever, you have to put your password in again. So for example, when I set it up with Gmail, you have to go to Gmail, to your security settings, say, listen, there's an app that wants to connect, and it generates a 16-character password for you. And if I just go and edit my username or any other field in 2.24, when you come back here, see, for example, the password is gone. I don't think we should be forcing them every time they want to make a modification to re-enter the password. If they haven't written it down, they have to go back to Google and they have to re-enter it. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's a design feature.
Okay, I will also, have you already created some kind of Jira ticket, or have you contacted Roma?
Not yet. I'm doing a bit of a course module on this, and I wanted to make sure my knowledge was bulletproof. And then when I finish, I've been making a list, and I was planning to put it in Jira. I just thought, since we're talking about it, I wanted to make sure that it's maybe it's designed to work that way.
I'm not sure.
And one more follow-up regarding the Google, that the second time you cannot achieve this very password. You have to generate new one for a PP. You can see it only once. So that's kind of a very bad user experience. So once it's lost, you have to generate new one. You cannot see it once more in Google.
My remembering of this, and I haven't done it for a couple of days, but anytime I came back into here, the password is gone. I don't know why. I don't think we should lose the password. If you come in and just edit something, and you just, actually, you see here, you haven't even changed anything, and the password is gone.
Yeah, I think it's something we can iterate on and improve. But I want to say, no, we shouldn't be showing the password according to the security baseline. On the other hand, we should be giving visual feedback that the password is there with asterisks. So
right,
yeah,
right.
definitely something.
That's what you see the first time. But I'm just saying, for example, you come into it after you've done this. Now the password is completely blank. There's no dots. There's no nothing, which implies it's gone. That's just an observation. Thank you.
No, that's a good point. I think we can improve it, definitely.
Yeah, just to highlight one thing there, I don't think we should really be saving passwords just in case, say, anyone gets access to that instance, right? So you do not really want to be saving passwords anywhere. You necessarily want to be using tokens.
Which
we
may
are
not
talking
be
right
possible
now regarding the tokens, because you cannot distinguish what is a token and what is a password, actually. So Google cannot authenticate anything with a password. It you will get an error. So it enforces you, for example, to get a token for your app for application. So it is token, but the issue that it's gone after saving. So whenever you save it, it's gone. It disappears after on receiving. That is everything.
Yeah, I guess my point is my point was, for example, if somebody's just getting used to it and there's an error and they want to come back into here to see a setting, you're forcing them to re-enter the password just by coming in to view what they've done.
Well, it's not even clear, I would say, whether you're forced to re-enter it. Like, is it
Well,
saved?
you have nothing in the field, sir.
There's no UI hint there.
There's nothing there. If I look at that,
it might be saved. If you change it and you hit apply, you might not need to enter it, and it might still be there. Right? And that's the question.
To be fair, I didn't test that. I will test that. But when I see there's nothing there and I check it, I go, oh, I better re-enter the password.
Well, I would say that that's the feeling most of the users are going to have. Like when you come back here and you see that's just empty, you probably think, yeah, I just lost my password. And if you re-enter the password, I'm going to get that. That's probably will be the first thing. The error is because the password is empty.
Okay, I'm creating as an action item, so I will address it to Roma Novikov, so we can discuss it, and most probably I will give you 99% that it will be included as an improvement. Yeah, maybe some part is a bug, yeah, like it's disappeared, and some part is improvement, so you don't need to re-enter it. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the feedback, guys. Any other questions for Max for alerting, notification channels? No? Then thank you, Maksym, for showing us that stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let me share my screen again. The next item is a Percona Toolkit fix. Carlos, do you have anything to say, show?
No, because it's the command line. It was fixed a problem with when you have I don't know how to say a primary running without the primary key, just part of a string as the key was failing to update when the error was fixed. Just in a dependent library, I fixed the error. I don't know how else to explain.
Okay, so who has questions about PT? Raise your hands. Nah, Toolkit is not interesting for everybody. Yeah.
No, the only thing I have to mention is that the error was in a library, so it was used for more than one param. So even when the report was on pt-table-checksum, that the truth is that we are fixing our params using the table-nibbler library. So they're like our params table-checksum, table-sync, and schema change.
Okay, thank you, Carlos, for this item. Okay, Donnie made some suggestions here. Okay, UX request. Okay, we'll review it after we finish with our items here. And we'll finish with our important bug fixes. Let's move on to our core functionality. And we're having here attach build binaries to each release. Carlos, again, I assign it to you. So
again,
what was done?
So that we are attaching all binaries, and we have Docker image for MongoDB exporter releases. That it's just a change in the build script to include everything: source, binaries, and Docker images.
And what problem it solves?
I have people that want to try it without installing anything, that now they can use Docker images.
Okay. Then the next item we're having is add support for building feature builds from forks. Nikita is marked here. Do we have Nikita on the call? I see him here.
Yes,
but, yeah.
yes, we have Nikita on the call.
Can you please show us, explain us what was done here and why?
Yeah, 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, we can. At least me.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, one of our tasks is to give opportunity for third-party developers, our clients, or external users a convenient way to contribute to PMM. And to be honest, the process is far from perfect now. But we have made several improvements in this process. First, we made it possible to create pull requests and future builds from forks in GitHub. Second, we added documentation on how to create a future builds. You can see this documentation on my screen. And first thing, we simplified the process of creating future builds. Now we need only push your changes and run one command. Yeah, our documentation is still have room for improvements, but one of our priorities in this and next quarter is improving the documentation available to external contributor. Also, I want to thank everyone who participated in testing documentation and testing and improving building scripts. For example, Alexei Mikas, Alex Timchuk, and Anton Bustov. I apologize if I pronounce something last or first name incorrectly. It's all for me.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good improvement since we're having the goal. Not only we're having the goal to improve, the way to contribute, but also the whole company goal, working with the community stuff. Yeah, it's important stuff. Who has questions related to this one? Nobody? Okay. Let me share my screen again so we can move on. And the next item, custom query docs for PMM. Okay, Carlos, again.
Just added a link to the documentation where I explain how to implement a custom query for MySQL. The basics are the same for Postgres, but in the original documentation, we were not mentioning the special fields, how the meaning of each field. So I just added the link to the new blog post where we explain in detail each file in the custom YAML file to run custom queries.
Yeah, it's needed stuff. Okay, who has questions related to custom queries, the documentation for custom queries?
I have a question here. As far as in PMM, for example, when you're setting up alerting, there's a field for filters. So you can filter which hosts the alerting is running on. Does anybody know, is there the syntax for how to enter that in the documentation? I don't believe in the interface itself when there's something, some kind of hint with an I button that specifies how do we put that in there for the filters? If it's not currently in the docs, we should have something.
I don't understand the question because it's filter, but this is about custom queries. It's not.
No. I'm sorry. This is about alerting.
Oh.
There's a field that you can filter, but I don't recall seeing anything information or in the docs how to enter, something in that field.
Okay. So do we have the specialist for the alerting?
I cannot say that we have this in documentation, but somewhere on Confluence it's documented. We should just add like service equals and service name, for example.
Yeah.
Or not equals not name.
Right, but that should be clearly documented if it's not, so people don't have to figure out how to do that. I'm checking right now. So in the meantime, I'll come back in a few seconds and I'll see if there's anything in the docs.
Good.
Harry, as we are working on transitioning alerting to general availability, there is a big topic for us, which is improve any alerting related documentation. So yes, I'm not sure about this particular detail, but I believe it's not covered. So thank you for the feedback. We'll take notes and we will make it part of that. But yes, as Zoriana mentioned, we have a few pieces of documentation in different places, and we're putting all of that together and getting the best of that, and that's gonna make it to the update.
No, I realize that, and I just checked there. It does list filters as an input, but it doesn't specify the syntax. And believe me, I appreciate the challenge of documenting something that's constantly a moving target. Nothing is staying the same. So I realize there's a challenge, but everything else is pretty straightforward, the SMTP address, etc. But I wanted to start playing around with filters, but I had no idea where to start with, whether it's by host, whether it's by service, and what those syntaxes are. It's pretty much the only glaring thing that I saw that's missing as far as the documentation, or something in the interface which has a little I button that specifies how to enter a service or a host.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Also having the documentation on Confluence and on the website is different stuff because our users cannot see our Confluence.
Maybe they don't want to, but that's a whole other issue about Confluence that we don't need to address here.
Yeah. Agree. So also adding these two action items.
So back to custom queries for a second, because I think that was my Jira ticket that I opened, right? I think that one was the one that I pushed out there. I think.
Let me check. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that one of the big things that I wanted to make sure we captured was there were some caveats with custom queries. Specifically, if you put a custom query in that takes longer than the time of the bucket that you put in, it actually stacks the queries up, which is a potentially really nasty thing. So we want to just make sure I would recommend we call that out. I wrote a blog on it, and I don't know, Carlos, did you reference my blog in the documentation? I know you referenced previous ones, but I'm not sure if you referenced mine directly.
No.
Yeah. It's a rather nasty thing. If you start to get a query pileup, it can actually cause some performance issues on the server. So it's something that I would recommend we at least mention, that you make sure your queries fit in the appropriate time bucket, because if you put them in like a 5-second bucket and it takes 10 seconds to run, then queries start backing up and piling up. I think there's also another related ticket that I opened, or the suggestion that I made to limit the number of custom queries, or the same custom query running at one time. If it's limited to 1 or 10 or whatever, would be.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we should do, is try and fix it in the software, because people just don't read the docs unless they're forced to.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's the docs was the easy one. The more difficult one is preventing it from happening.
Yeah, but let's go step by step. The first item, you raised the question that have we fixed the duplicating of the queries? Yeah, if it exceeds the bucket size. So Carlos, have we resolved this? Was it the part of the request, initial request here?
What was the question?
Matt, can you please explain the first question? Yeah.
Yeah. So part of this documentation was, or part of this issue was, there wasn't a lot of docs on custom queries. Specifically, when I was testing out custom queries, and Michael Colburn and I were on a live stream, we tried to set up custom queries. It didn't work. Number one, because we had a configuration error, but when we did get it to work, it exceeded the time frame of what the bucket size was. So one query, let's say, took 10 seconds. The bucket size was 5 seconds, which means that one query wouldn't finish. And so you would start to see queries start to pile up over that time period. And so did we fix the issue of query pileups, but did we also add that to the documentation that that's a limitation?
So Carlos, have you addressed this problem?
No, we didn't add in our documentation.
Mm-hmm. So we just updated the documentation, yeah?
Yes, with the examples we have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Matt, you were having 3 issues, right? As I understood from your previous speech, yeah? With custom queries.
Yes. Well, I think there's 2. Let me see. I'm opening up the Jira now for that one.
I can show you. You want the doc?
Yeah, I got it. So so that one, it's interesting. So I don't know if that particular information made it into the documentation, or if we just pointed back to this, because this ended up being a blog as well.
Which one? Because I'm pretty, confused now. So we're talking about the duplicating, yeah?
So first of all, let's just talk just the documentation.
Okay, yeah, doc.
Yeah, so
we're having documentation. We resolved like this, adding the link here, yeah, with the custom queries.
No,
right.
I mean, if you will open could you please open the GitHub or like Jira ticket? There is the GitHub link what actually Carlos has added.
Okay, just a second. Opening.
You have a link in the conference page.
Or in the ticket. In the ticket you have, if you open the ticket, you want me to send you the link?
Just a second. I'm having it on my other screen. Yeah, can you please copy paste it?
Yes, here in the chat.
Okay. So you added these items. From the document.
Yes.
From this document. Okay.
Next, that document and some information I got from the exporter itself by reading the code. Like, for example, what each field means in the YAML file. Because we were not using everything in the examples, so I extended it a little bit with what metrics or master means, for example.
Okay, so Matt, this is what was added to the documentation. This is how it was updated.
Right, which doesn't include what's in the original ask. So the original ask, if you look at the Google Doc, talks specifically about how to avoid the query pileup. And so there are a couple of things you can do to avoid it. And it also walks you through the issue, which we could just cut and paste that into the docs to say, by the way, hey, you have this potential issue with a query pileup. Here's some workarounds if you do run into that. Which didn't make it in the doc.
I see the problem that our Jira ticket was missing the acceptance criteria. So, okay, let's communicate with you after the call, tomorrow fine. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And add the items we need to address, because currently our Jira request was like just a link here and what was no direct, call for action. As I see.
Okay. Here. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So thanks for the feedback. We will discuss this one as well. And does anybody has any other questions related to custom queries? No? Then, okay. I will stop sharing because I would like to ask Shashank to show us the added ability to specify path to exporters and tools using pmm-admin. Shashank, are you here?
Oh yeah, I'm there. Oh, well, nothing really to share. So I'll just talk a bit about the feature. So
the problem and then the feature. Let's make it that way.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll start with the problem statement. So the problem statement essentially is that if you want to install a PMM client on say a machine, a node, where you do not want to install it in the default location, which is usually in the /user/etc and then /Percona/pmm2. That's the path basically where we put in all our binaries and exporters and stuff, right? So you may want to go up with a custom location, right? Because of the permission issues, or you just want to be fancy. In that scenario, PMM did not work earlier. So the request essentially was to allow it to work if we gave it a custom path where we will install the client tarball, essentially. So the fix essentially is that in the pmm-agent as well as pmm-admin, we will add support for flags to pass on information as to where the setup is actually there on the node. It's as simple as just creating flags. However, there is currently a bug there, which I'm trying to fix, where in certain cases it does not work. But yeah, so the feature is there. It's a little buggy, and yeah, we are trying to get it working in all scenarios.
Okay. A little bit buggy. And do we have some, like a group we would like to test it on to get the feedback?
Oh, I actually had a word with Puneet today regarding some of the testing scenarios. Just trying to discuss how we missed certain cases in which it started to fail. So yeah, so we are looking at expanding, say, the different scenarios in which things are tested, and then yeah, trying to basically see all the corner cases that can possibly be there to ensure that they are all tested.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Who has a questions to Shashank? No hands. So thanks, Shashank. I will share my screen again. And the next item would be alerting. Fabio, you have 1 or 2 items here. Can you show us what was done here? What improvements do we have, Fabio? Oh, we're missing Fabio. Okay, sorry for this inconvenience. Let's switch to our DBaaS stuff. And here we have Tiago. Do we have Tiago on the call?
Yes.
Yes, wow. Can you show us what was done here related to DBaaS?
Yeah, hello everyone. So we added support for PXE 1.9.0 And that's mainly it. But with that, we had to do one change, which is the way that we handle the error message. PXC now, operator PXC 1.9.0 doesn't consider everything as an error. So like if we have, for example, insufficient CPU, that's not considered an error. So what we did was we added these logs, the icon and information that we had previously. When we had an error, we added it now, even if it's processing, so you can see if you have an error or not. So while it's processing, if you get these logs, you can just open it and see what's happening. And it says there that you have insufficient CPU and memory. The good thing about this is that you don't have to wait for it to process everything and to fail. So you can just immediately check and maybe edit or delete your cluster. That was the main change.
Okay. Who has questions for DBaaS? No questions. I believe all the questions to DBaaS were discussed on the other meetings we had 2 days earlier. Okay, thanks, Tiago. Then we have a sidecar pattern problem. Beata, can you show us what's in here? What was solved?
Yeah, hi everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So what was fixed in this task is that if PMM client cannot connect to PMM server for some reason, then PMM client container crashes and the DB cluster won't be running. And as you can see now after the fix, my DB cluster is active, it's running, even though I set incorrect public address in PMM settings. So now, of course, the monitoring doesn't work and user can easily find out why when he looks on the logs, specifically PMM client logs, and he or she can see that the PMM agent failed to register to PMM server and then fix it. That's it.
Nice, nice. Who has questions? Again, no questions related to DBaaS. Thanks, Beata.
Sorry guys, I have like one quick suggestion. Is it possible to just color code the errors?
Put the color there. Yeah.
Because logs are going to be huge, and if we have like some sort of a string which represents error, it just pops out. That's the only recommendation.
Yeah, it was. I believe it would be definitely the part of the the polishing stuff, because first we would like to create the like POC stuff for this MVP, and then we would like to polish it, improve it, and extend it. But yeah,
awesome.
So good suggestion. Thanks.
Do we have more exact error message? What is happening? Because is it really exact for a client that PMM engine cannot register client? Could we have a more specific message to point out what the problem is, or we don't have for this very case?
Do we have it or not? Who knows? Beata, do you have this information?
Well, the error messages, they are coming from Kubernetes. So yeah, I don't think that, I think this is enough.
No.
So far, we are not parsing the logs, right? Or do not explain them.
But do we have plans in future?
Maybe in some distant one, but not so far. It's the thing here. It should work. I mean, it's magic Kubernetes. It will be deployed and work. You shouldn't look into those logs, and if you are looking at that, you probably should understand what they're saying. I don't know if you need any more intelligence over there. But in theory, I think collecting the logs, parsing the log, and build advisors, and it's a good idea. I don't really know if we have that in the backlog, but I would guess we are. We need Roma for that to confirm.
Well, I would say that understanding what we're looking for is one thing. Understanding what we're looking for in a median roles log is something totally different. Even you pretty much familiar with the log, you can still have a lot of noise inside of the logs, and it can be really time consuming, especially if you don't have anything that can help searching for the logs and that information. I think it's just understanding what we're looking for is not a strong argument of not improving that.
No, it's not an argument. I said that's like the bigger feature is collecting the logs, parsing them, and advising on them. That's for sure, like showing those errors, etc. But this is like a different area completely that needs to be developed for PMM or maybe separately. Implementing it here so far in DBaaS so far is not an objective and not in the plans. It's part of the bigger feature.
Fair enough.
Well, actually, my question was slightly different on the exact error messaging, because I had experience when some magic happened, and from the error messages which we have, it was really hard to understand what the problem is and how to solve it. So my concern is only the understandable to client. So I think that I have no doubt that it's clearly understandable for Beata, but for a client. So do we have like plans to improve the exact error messaging to make them?
We can improve it, but I would first get maybe feedback from the customers and clients to see that if that's really puzzles them, because we can invent too much time on something that never used or seen. So DBaaS is still tech preview. We're trying to deliver more features and see the feedback on them. And I think we might over-engineer some small improvements. So if people will complain about the logs, sure. Or if they will request more clarity.
My scenario was like, again, like magic, and it should never happen. Like it doesn't matter, but it's the common case. So in my case, it was a mixture of the container was relaunched, the Docker container with PMM client, and because of that, it used the port, and because of that, client locally did not start, and I didn't know that it's going to be relaunched because it should be shut down, and that's a question why nobody has no complaints regarding this scenario, because it's like obvious bad scenario which we have, and that's why I'm trying to see, do we have the source of complaints?
No, but this is not a bug feature. This is exactly what was implemented as a sidecar, because in the Kubernetes world you shouldn't fail at all. So it will restart until it will succeed, because maybe config map changed, environment changed or something. Because in Kubernetes, if you are a sidecar container as the PMM client, which is this feature about, if you crash all operator, and or all cluster actually will not start. And that's in the Kubernetes world sidecar pattern, which we have addressed. The PMM client shouldn't fail, PMM agent shouldn't fail, the container shouldn't fail. This was exactly what was addressed by this feature. So in the Docker environment, again, we probably should document it and maybe make a message more clear. If it's not the case, yes, go ahead and open the ticket or like write it somewhere in the Slack, and we'll see if we can improve the messaging.
Sounds good, Petra.
Okay, yeah. But first, I believe, even as Denis mentioned, we would like to collect the feedback, even not from customers and real users, but first after we make our like technical preview done stuff.
No, this
with
Vadim, yeah,
DBaaS.
Vadim's feedback is cool as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we just
Yeah.
document it and we'll see where we can improve the messaging. Yeah, sure.
We will share all the documentation, all the stuff related to DBaaS when we say it's ready, you know, like a MVP. Then and we can get the feedback from internal Perconians. Yeah. Thanks, Vadim, Denise. And let's move on to portal side. Zoriana, we have here stuff how to communicate with Percona in portal.
Hi everyone. Yeah, but I'm not sure I remember all the tickets that we have completed recently. So I will just focus not on tickets but on flows today. Previously, we had the problem with our environments. Now you can see they're up and running, and a couple of flows have been already implemented. The first one, this is the improvement for creating the Percona account. This will be in the future the key if users will want to access Percona platform resources. This flow looks much better than it was previously. I think all you have to enter the email address, password, your name, and your first name and your last name. Let's see how it works. That's not all. You can see that I was asked to check my email address. So there should be confirmation link to activate my account. I am trying to do this currently. Now I can log in using my credentials. Let's check if there are, yeah, that's actually the credentials I used previously. What is there also on portal? Users have access to their profile. They can change settings using Octopage. For now, there are plans to improve this, as this is not much customization from Percona, but that's the plan for the future. The most recent features, so that's we implemented this dashboard. Like this is not the real dashboard, it's just a part of the dashboard. For now, we have static contacts there. That's the contacts for pre-account users, where to contact Percona, where to reach Percona resources, etc. For the real Percona customers, this page will look will look differently, because we will have the dynamic contacts from ServiceNow. And actually, we also placed the resources section here. All the resources are opening in a new tab. And the most important part that was implemented is also the creation of organization. There are currently like two cases that we can distinguish for now. First, this is for free accounts. User can have their own organization when they are not Percona customers. So, for example, I create my own organization. You can see there is a creation date, org name, and in the list, I am already a member of this organization. I am an admin, and I can also invite other people to this organization by just specifying email and also role. There are currently two roles implemented. So the admin and the technical user. Technical is just read-only role for the organization. Just try to invite previously registered user as admin, and now I can invite someone else as technical. Yes, and the list should be updated. Now, if I log out and log in as technical user. I should not be able to invite other members to my organization. I should still view it. I am in the list. I have this view for organization, but I'm not able to invite anyone for this organization. And there is also one extra case implemented. I am just logging in with my Percona account. And I have also an organization currently in ServiceNow. Like my email is registered as Percona customer for the Percona Sandbox organization. And you can see when I am trying to add my organization, there is a magic behind the scene that actually shows this organization. Like I understand and everyone understand that that's not the best user experience. That's why we are trying now to improve this flow. Like if we have customers in ServiceNow, we should make sure on portal that this organization is present and to show this information to users. So like what this will give us, if we link account from portal with account in ServiceNow, we will be able to receive information stored in ServiceNow, for example, entitlements, contacts, and also list of tickets, etc. Actually, I should also point out there are a couple of restrictions currently. The first one, user is able to create only one organization and be a member of only one organization. The second, we just allow to invite members to the organization who has already account, Percona account, like registered users. And also we allow to create organization for users who has ServiceNow admin flag to true, set to true. So only admins are allowed to create portal organization and link it to ServiceNow. For now, that's actually it. Any questions?
Yeah, a couple of questions on that are, did you just say only customers can create an organization?
Everyone can create organization, free account or customer, but if that is the case for customer, we will show that we know that the organization already exists.
Okay, great.
Let me extend a bit this answer. The idea behind this flow is the following. When user tries to create an organization, we try to fetch as much information as possible from our ecosystem and establish a link between portal and ServiceNow if we know that this entity is already existing in ServiceNow.
Right. No, that makes sense. And then for a free user, they don't really get any value out of the portal itself, right? A free user, the main value they'll get is access to some advisors in the PMM view.
A free user will get, once it creates an organization and connects PMM to portal, it is able to fetch an extended list of advisors. They're called as registered users, so the list will be a bit extended, but the list will be limited, and once it becomes Percona customer, he will be able to get even a wider list of advisors.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
I have one question. So if I'm correct, only admin can invite other people into the organization, as you showed us. Is that correct?
Yes.
But the other people, when logged in, could list all the members, and you could see all the names and email addresses. Are we sure for an external member, whoever should list every available member?
Well, interesting question. It depends on the scenario. First of all, once the admin invites some user into his organization, from our point of view, it means this new user is a part of his organization or domain in real life. So he has access to this information anyway. In future, we are going to introduce some additional roles on portal and even provide admin with the ability to customize particular permissions in each role, so create custom roles. And in such case, it will be able to restrict access to email addresses for such users. But for MVP, for the first launch, it was decided to have only these two roles with those set of permissions. If this is incorrect right now, and we see some drawback from security perspective, please mention this and we will consider.
No, I don't think it's a miss. It was intentional, but I agree, TB, like some orgs, some people don't have to see the list. So that's a valid question. The other thing is that we would make it much more flexible and configurable depending on every organization's use case if and when we bring in the RBAC, which makes it really flexible. Like, you know, the same defaults will apply unless you're happy, you're gonna go ahead and change them. So I think that would work for every use case.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I think, just one point to add on to that is, keeping in mind what's the primary goal of this for free users is to build usage and build product adoption. So it's really about how do we grow, how do we make it easier for people to grow. Meaning more invite buttons, easier to see whether your colleagues are in there already or not, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have a question regarding the multi-organization scenario. Do we have such option within a single server instance? I think Maksym already knows the context of my question. I already reached him regarding our current PMM architecture. And do we have ability to, for single account, like in a bank, you have account and you have a credit card, you have sub accounts, sub credit accounts, and here you have account and somebody would like to create multi-organizational system, for example, for several offices or kind of like that with a dedicated structure itself. Is it possible within single server instance configuration?
This is in context of portal, as I understand correctly.
Yeah, in context of portal.
If you want to create several portal organizations, you need to have to create a separate Percona account and create one organization per each account. For now, this is a limitation. In future, we are going to extend this, but it will depend on our roadmap.
And I think, Max, if I remember, this was an intentional limitation because on the ServiceNow side, there's only like a user can only be part of one. What do they call it there in ServiceNow? Account, yeah. So like our organization maps to ServiceNow account, and the limitation comes from that side. Initially we like investigated this, but then, when we were working with the other stakeholders, like we realized, we have to consider this limitation. Otherwise, it's not, we can allow the user to create multiple organizations, but that ain't gonna be any good because that doesn't map well with ServiceNow, with the way we treat customers inside of ServiceNow. I don't know if that's the answer to your question, Vadim, but
yeah, it does, because in some way, but in technical way, I have another question. It doesn't answer, because my question is that whether we can achieve multiple two or three organizations with different accounts on a single configuration of service. So right now we have a limitation that two organizations require duplication of service instances. And right now in Portal, can we achieve a couple of organizations within the physical server instance one?
Are you talking about the servers, the Kubernetes, the pods where we host all of these services, or?
Yes, I mean this where we can we can grow the tree of the data, so branches of the data came from the branches of the information goes from the organization right now, and it's a limitation of the account. So multiple accounts within a single service. Can it exist, or for each account we should establish a server?
No, one server handles them all. Max, am I right?
Yeah, this is SaaS service.
We don't have multiple. We just have
for all organizations.
However many organizations there are going to be, like only one instance of the service would be able to handle them all. We don't create, we don't create multiples of the same service just because the users want to have like two orgs or something.
I see. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Actually, we're already out of time, so let's keep our work in progress items to the next meeting. Hopefully, most of them would be in done column, but currently I see we're having another meeting, Lunch and Learn. So thanks for participation. Then I will share the link for this recording with you, and have a great evening. Bye.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, bye.
See you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.